WGNY and WJGK HD2, Newburgh, Middletown. WGNY News, Talk, Sports.
Football fans, it is that time of day again. Welcome to this special Tuesday edition of Jake's Hot Takes. I am your host, as always, Jake McVey, joined here by my co-host Matthew Galgano. Matt, how are you feeling on this fine Tuesday?
I'm very good, but I don't think you're feeling so good because you had some bad takes last episode.
Whoa. Okay, hold on. Bad takes?
Bad takes.
I don't think I've ever had a bad take.
They should call the show Jake's Bad Takes because
Okay.
you had some bad takes.
Okay, that feels unnecessary. I don't think you could even name one bad take that I've ever
Well,
had.
actually, last week you said that the Broncos would upset the Bills, and that just did not happen.
Okay, I put that in the
40
ad.
to 7.
Okay, I put that in the ad. I put that in the reschedule ad. Okay, fine. You got me with one, but I make a lot of takes.
You said the Texans would be embarrassed. That did not happen. Actually, the Texans embarrassed the Chargers.
Okay. Look, I'm a big hitter. All right, I'm always going for the big play. I think I'm allowed to get one take or two takes wrong.
Well, actually, you got 3 takes wrong because you said the Steelers would upset the Ravens, and that was just idiotic, honestly. That was a stupid take.
That's not even what I said. First of all, that's not even what I said. I said that if a team could upset the Ravens in the wild card, it would be the Steelers, which is not exactly the same thing. It's not
the Steelers.
Okay.
So
look, you are far too focused on the past right now. All right, you need to start focusing on the future.
All right, let's focus on now.
The future of this episode, where we have some great talking points today. We are going to be recapping the wild card weekend, which I don't know about you, I was pretty disappointed by.
It was boring
across the board.
Yeah, pretty boring.
I honestly, it made me sad seeing the amount of poor football games played. I mean the Green Bay and Philadelphia game was fun for a little bit, but then it kind of petered off for me. The Vikings and the Rams on Monday Night Football was just abysmal. I mean, that game was ugly.
Yeah.
Not to mention the Chargers and Texans game, as previously mentioned, and the Ravens and Steelers game were all pretty boring, in my opinion.
Yeah, all pretty bad games.
It's like whatever team won pretty much had an arm's length lead throughout the entire game.
Yeah, pretty much.
Commanders and Buccaneers was a really fun one.
That was definitely the best game of the wild card weekend. Honestly, a crazy game from Jane Daniels, but
yeah, legacy. The game's legacies are built on.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, speaking of legacy, there was, as you just previously mentioned, thanks for mentioning it, the Broncos and the Bills. I really did think that the Broncos had a shot to upset the Bills last weekend. Obviously, it did not come to fruition. The Bills dominated the Bills dominated the Broncos on all fronts. I hot take for you guys. I know this is what you come to the show for, so I'm giving it to everybody right now. I don't think Sean Payton can lead the Broncos to a Super Bowl. I think they have all the pieces they need right now, or at least most of the pieces they need right now. I'm not sure that Sean Payton is going to be the guy to get it done.
I disagree. I mean, he's won it before, and he definitely has the capability to do it. And this is year 1 with Bo Nix, and him and Russell Wilson were just not a good fit. They did not work well together. So this is really year 1 of the Sean Payton rebuild, and it went great, way better than I think any Broncos fan expected. I mean, they made the playoffs with a roster that really did not look that good going to the season. Bo Nix looks honestly pretty good without a real true number 1 receiver. I know Courtland Sutton's pretty good, but
I like Courtland Sutton.
I like Courtland Sutton,
receiver.
but he's no workhorse receiver that you feel comfortable throwing every single ball to.
Yeah, he's got some flashy highlights though. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, he's good contested catch, probably one of the best in the league. But honestly, that should be number 1 concern with the Broncos this season is to get Bo Nix a number 1 receiver that really is a difference maker.
Yeah.
And with that, I think Denver can do a lot with this team. I think it was a great year 1 for the rebuild, and they're only going to go up from here.
I just again I like what you're saying. I agree that this Denver team has a lot of promise. And look, I would hate for Sean Payton to prove me wrong because I am a Chiefs fan, and the more successful the Broncos are, the more I dislike them. I like it when the Broncos are bottom of the barrel, bottom feeders like usual. But Sean Payton just has a legacy of underachieving. I mean, look at his time in New Orleans, where he won one Super Bowl with one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Maybe not like accolades-wise. I know Drew Brees didn't really have the MVPs stacking up, but undeniably one of the most talented and prolific players the game has ever seen. I mean, he only went to one Super Bowl, one Super Bowl. Only won one Super Bowl with one of the most prolific players of all time. And it's not like the Saints were an all-around bad team. They were good, and they were in contention for most of the years Drew Brees was playing his butt off. And they just never got over the hump. And at some point, it makes you question, like, what went wrong, you know? Year in and year out, this team would underachieve when they were supposed to be winning Super Bowls. And the only common factor between all of that is Sean Payton and Drew Brees. And I'm not willing to pin a lot of that blame on Drew Brees.
Honestly, I think any of the Broncos' struggles are not going to be placed on Payton or shouldn't be placed on Payton. I think it should be placed on the front office and that terrible Russell Wilson contract that will hold the Broncos back. I mean, they can't really make too many financial decisions freely because of that stupid contract they gave Wilson.
That is true.
And
that is true.
I think Sean Payton is a guy that, like, he dies and lives by his drafts, and he had a good draft last year with Bo Nix, and Troy Franklin was a good pick. So we'll see how this next draft goes.
That's another guy I think you want to keep your eye on, Troy Franklin. He is interesting. I always love when a rookie quarterback and a rookie wide receiver come onto the same team and kind of instantly have that connection like Franklin and Nix did. You saw it with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase because they were college teammates, although I don't really count that because they weren't part of the same draft class. Also, I hate the Cincinnati Bengals. But I like that kind of look from a team. I like a duo of a wide receiver and a quarterback who kind of get the chance to grow and develop alongside each other. I think that's always a recipe for a good core for an offense. It's just too bad that Sean Payton is going to waste Bo Nix's prime like he wasted Drew Brees' prime. I'm tired of treating Sean Payton like he's this really great coach when he has one Super Bowl, again, under one of the most prolific passers the game has ever seen. And I get it. He's very good at paying his players to injure other people and occasionally, once winning a Super Bowl. But I just don't have faith in him. I don't know.
While Sean Payton is lucky to play with one of the greatest players of all times and Drew Brees, I think that it's just he's a lot to prove on this Denver team, and I think he can do it. He just has to draft well and hope that he can get some good financial decisions from the front office.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that the Broncos should fire Payton or anything like that because, it's still very early in his time in Denver. The same way that we don't bench a rookie quarterback after one underperforming season, I don't think it's right to go and start pinning the blame on Sean Payton necessarily. Although I do think as time goes on, he will show that he's just not capable of elevating his team beyond that next level. A coach that definitely cannot elevate his team beyond their ceiling, and one that I actually do think needs to be in the hot seat, Mike Tomlin, man.
Yeah.
Year in and year out, Mike Tomlin comes in and makes the world think that the Steelers are contenders, only to completely fall apart in the final couple weeks of the season. And it happened again this season.
I don't think the Steelers should fire Mike Tomlin, but he's definitely made some questionable decisions. I think he's too conservative with play calling. He doesn't go for it enough on fourth down.
Certainly.
There was one play where they had 4th and inches and they were down by 14. And, yeah, they were on their own 40-yard line, but you got to have faith in your offense and just try to get the first down,
Yeah, and it's just so many. There's always baffling decisions. Like, I understand that in the long run, Russell Wilson probably was the better choice. And I don't necessarily believe in Justin Fields to be a high-level quarterback. I didn't even really believe in him to be a better quarterback than Russell Wilson this season. But the stats were undeniable. I mean, Fields was playing really well the first couple weeks of the season, and then all of a sudden they go and bench him. I understand that Wilson is probably the better option, but I feel like when a quarterback is playing as well as Fields did, I feel like you need to just let it ride and see how it turns out. I've never seen a quarterback get benched for having a good performance. It's And like I said, maybe Russell Wilson was just more necessary for team structure. Maybe he fit the offense better, and Justin Fields' stats were just empty stat padding. But it was undeniable what Fields was doing the first couple weeks of the season, and to just see him benched like that, I just think it is a completely baffling decision on Tomlin's part.
I think the Fields benching was deserved. I mean, the offense kind of sucked in the first 3 weeks of the season, and it looks like towards the end of the season, but there was a time when they put Russell Wilson in that starting lineup, and the Steelers looked great, even better than they did with Fields. So I think it was actually a good decision to bench Fields. But Tomlin, I mean, it just seems like he's always going to get the Steelers to a winning record and then just completely give up on coaching after that.
Yeah, it almost seems like he's not even trying after he gets to that non-losing. And you say winning record. Mike Tomlin does not have a streak of winning records. He has a streak of non-losing records, which means that 8-8 seasons count towards the streak.
Oh, I never actually knew that.
Which I think is just moving the goalposts completely. Are we really going to be praising a coach for being able to break even every season and, get bounced in the first round of the playoffs? The Steelers haven't won a playoff game since 2016.
Yeah.
You'll take any other team, any other coach, and they've made the playoffs like 4 of the last 6 years. You take any coach in a situation where they have the roster, they have a really talented roster, and they look really great in the season, and they completely fall apart towards the end of the regular season and in the playoffs. You take any team in that situation and have it happen over and over and over again, and the head coach would eventually come under question. But for some reason, Mike Tomlin just gets the pass to year in and year out disappoint the Steelers, and this team crumbles as soon as they break even. And for some reason, there is no conversation around whether or not Tomlin should be fired. And I know that media figures now are starting to come out more and talk about the possibility of being fired, but it feels like it's not even a consideration in the Steelers' minds that Tomlin is going to be fired.
It's just Tomlin has the last, ever since Big Ben left, and Big Ben wasn't that good in his last couple of years, but ever since then, Mike Tomlin has just not been able to figure out the quarterback position for the Steelers. And I mean, last year was Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph and Mitchell Trubisky, and now it's Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. It just feels like it's just a revolving door of quarterbacks. And it's only a matter of time before they either trade up to draft a quarterback or they draft a quarterback in this draft.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It almost feels like the constant non-losing seasons is more detrimental to Pittsburgh than if they just had a few really bad seasons sprinkled in, because not only are you not doing anything in the playoffs, not only are you embarrassing yourself in the last couple weeks of the regular season, you're not even getting a decent draft pick. And I know I just said on the last Thursday show that teams losing on purpose is a bad thing and that you shouldn't be tanking for better draft picks. But, I mean, the Steelers need to do something. That's the thing, is that the Steelers have just been sitting in this bubble of comfortable mediocrity for so long, almost a decade now, of just get into the wild card and lose in the wild card, draft late in the first round, draft between pick 17 to 25, and then come in the next year and do it all over again. And part of me almost thinks, is this worse than the Steelers just being bad? Because there's no hope. There's no hope.
Yeah, it really doesn't seem like there's hope. And I think if you ask any Steelers fan, they definitely want Tomlin to be fired. I mean, he's been the coach forever, and he has 2 Super Bowls, don't get me wrong. But I don't think he should be fired yet. I think he should get a chance with a new quarterback, draft a new quarterback. But if that doesn't work out, it might be time to go after that.
I just can't help but feel like this Pittsburgh team would be maybe not better, but just something different. That's the thing, is that the Pittsburgh Steelers aren't even a bad football team now, because they're in the top half of teams every year. They make the playoffs, which is it's an impressive feat for a football team, no matter what way you cut it. For every team that makes the playoffs, there is another team that does not. The playoffs are not just a guaranteed thing for football teams these days. I mean, look at the Cincinnati Bengals. Everyone was talking about how great Joe Burrow was and how great Jamar Chase was, and they ended up missing the playoffs. It is not a guaranteed thing these days. You need to be consistently good for a majority of the regular season, but it's so demoralizing watching. I would feel demoralized as a player, as a fan, as an executive, as anything, watching the Pittsburgh Steelers do the same song and dance year in and year out. It doesn't break my heart because I don't really care about the Steelers like that. It's just something that I've observed.
I mean, they are one of the winningest franchises in football history, and
Sure.
Tomlin has been a big part of that.
Yeah.
And he did bring them 2 Super Bowls. So I think he definitely deserves some more chances.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think at this point, how many more chances does Tomlin really deserve? Year in and year out. Like I said, the same song and dance. I'm doing it right now. Same song and dance, year in and year out. I'm just saying the same things over again, and it's not getting anywhere. Same thing with the Steelers. They're not getting anywhere. And at this point, I think it's better to move backwards than to stay in the same place. Mm-hmm. Because in 2027, if the Steelers do the same thing over and over again, are we going to be talking about giving Tomlin one more chance? I just can't stand it. Coming up after the break, we're going to be talking about the Texans over the Chargers and the Eagles over the Packers. So stay tuned for that. We'll be right back.
Thinking about remodeling your kitchen or bath? Wayne's Way Wholesale Cabinets has a great selection of all wood cabinets in the styles and colors to make your remodeling dreams come to life. Go to wayneswaycabinets.com for more info. Wayne's Way Cabinets, 1829 South Road, Wappingers Falls. Call 845-280-0880. Stop by and talk to Wayne today. You'll be glad you did. CDS Auto and Truck Repair is your 5-star one-stop shop for all your vehicle's needs from A to Z, offering full vehicle diagnostics. Towing is available, and they now offer fleet service. CDS Auto and Truck Repair. Call 845-563-9987. That's 845-563-9987. CDS Auto and Truck Repair, 2917 Route 9W, New Windsor.
Storage Bar Self-Storage is a temperature-controlled facility in New Windsor. Demands for storage tend to be driven by many life changes. Box, organize, save, simplify. Servicing business, organizations, military, and residential customers. Convenient, economical, and clean. Military, veteran, public safety, local business, and senior discounts offered. Call 845-562-BOOK or 845-562-2665 to reserve your unit today.
You've long known that Newburgh Auto Spa on Route 17K utilizes top caliber products and the latest technology to give your vehicle the proper maintenance it needs. Whether it be a computerized soft cloth car wash, detailing consisting of a comprehensive bumper-to-bumper cleaning of your entire interior and exterior, or a fuel-efficient oil change from a trained technician, Newburgh Auto Spa is the place to go. Now, Newburgh Auto Spa is a full-service automotive center. That's right, Newburgh Auto Spa now offers tires, brakes, rotors, tune-ups, alternators, and more, all with the same professionalism and quality you've become accustomed to. For a full list of automotive services offered in specials, go to NewburghAutospa.com. Whether you need a basic car wash, a quick oil change, or now more extensive automotive service, Newburgh Auto Spa is the place to go. Newburgh Auto Spa, quick, convenient, clean, located at 86 Route 17K and online at NewburghAutospa.com. Now offering a full range of automotive services. Newburgh Auto Spa, quick, convenient, clean.
Need a new oven? Then the place to go is Michael's Appliance Center. They are committed to providing excellent value and service. Whether you need a stove, washer and dryer, or refrigerator, they offer a multitude of products in every price range. Customers at Michael's Appliance Center receive exceptional guidance and support from their highly trained, knowledgeable sales staff. Shop for appliances ranging from dishwashers to outdoor grills. Visit Michael's Appliance Center, 585 Main Street in Middletown, or go online to michaelsappliance.com.
Boom. We are back. Bet you weren't expecting that, and if you weren't, you're dumb. Anyway, before we get into the next segment, real quick, I just wanted to let everybody know we have a new email address for you to send your fan takes in. I don't know what happened to the old one, just something went wrong. Jake's Hot Takes at WGNY.net. Send us your takes. If you want us to talk about your takes on the show, send it to Jake's Hot Takes at WGNY.net. It is going to be absolutely electric once we get some fan takes coming in here. And speaking of electric, those Chargers kind of short-circuited. What do you think?
Yeah, the Chargers looked outclassed on every single phase of the ball last week, on Saturday, and that's surprising because I really thought they would handle the Texans pretty well.
Yeah, I did too, as you so kindly reminded me at the beginning of the show.
But wow, Justin Herbert had a terrible game, which is like the last thing I was expecting. He
gosh.
played awful. I mean, he was 14 for 32 for 242 yards and 1 touchdown and 4 interceptions. And what's crazy about that is that Ladd McConkey made up 197 of Herb's 242 yards.
Yeah, I mean, Ladd is a beast.
Yeah.
I one of the things that I did want to talk about was just how awesome that 86-yard touchdown run from McConkey was, or touchdown pass that he ran 86 yards.
Mm-hmm.
That whole sequence was awesome. Herbert just
Definitely.
got slammed the first 2 plays. Got sacked on back-to-back plays. They were looking at like a 3rd and like 13 backed up on their own end zone. Herbert lets it fly to the middle of the field. McConkey gets it, blows past the defenders that were trying to make the tackle, and runs it all the way for 86 yards. Then after that, on the extra point gets blocked, and the Texans run it back for 2 points all the way back the other way. That was the closest we've ever gotten to a 1-point safety in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean that entire sequence was insane.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's the most Chargers play to ever happen to them.
It really was.
And the Texans defense was just after the entire night. I mean, the Texans rush defense is just insane. I mean, they held J.K. Dobbins on 9 carries for 26 yards, 2.9 per carry. And then they had Gus Edwards on 7 carries for 22 yards per carry. So the Chargers really only had 50 yards of running game in this game.
And what's really crazy is this is not what we've seen out of the Chargers offensive line all season. They used to be so good. They had Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt anchoring the line on either side. I mean, with a tackle duo like that, you'd think Justin Herbert would be able to take a nap in the pocket. But no, the dude was running for his life every play.
And it wasn't even that. Like, that just led to Herbert was inaccurate all night.
Yeah.
I mean, even on the passes that were interceptions that were drops by the receiver, they were inaccurate passes by Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
And like there was one by McConkey that was right over his head, and it went through his fingertips, but he wasn't able to catch that.
Yeah.
And it was just bad. Herbert played awful, like plain blank. I mean, what it comes down to is that the Texans stumbled a little bit to start the game. They turned the ball over twice. John Mechie fumbled the ball in the first play of the game, and then CJ Stroud threw an interception, and that led to 2 Chargers possessions in the red zone, and they ended those 2 possessions with 6 points. They had a chance to go up 14-0.
Yeah.
And that just did them in. I mean, they didn't play the rest of the game well, and they might have still lost, but that momentum start the game that allowed the Texans to close in and to really lock in, and that defense looks crazy.
Yeah. And I don't know if the NFL is going to look into this, but I think the NFL might need to look into a bit of interference during the game. Did you see that?
What do you mean?
On the Slime Time broadcast, I don't know if you saw it, the Dirty Bubble actually came in and took John Harbaugh out of the stadium for a little while.
I did
The
see
Chargers
that.
were playing without their coach because the Dirty Bubble came in and took him away.
I wasn't watching the Nickelodeon broadcast, so I didn't see that. But I saw that on the internet after. That's kind of crazy. That's why they lost.
It's honestly kind of crazy that the NFL didn't stop the game to try and get Harbaugh back. But Justin Herbert remains the funniest quarterback career path of all time, where everybody talks about how great he is and how talented he is, and then when it actually matters, he looks like Sam Darnold on the Jets.
I mean, I always say this. I mean, Justin Herbert, he is the GOAT of hypothetical situations.
Yeah.
If there's a hypothetical situation, I mean, Justin Herbert is winning.
Yeah, I mean, hypothetically, Justin Herbert won the Super Bowl 4 times already
Yeah,
in a row.
hypothetically.
But
Something I think is crazy is that me and you both have the exact same stat line as Quentin Johnston in that game.
oh my gosh,
He's
don't even get me
awful.
started
He's
about
so
Quentin
bad.
Johnston. He is terrible.
He needs to flip burgers. Like, genuinely, he needs to start flipping burgers. He's awful.
Chargers are going to trade him to McDonald's for a $5 meal deal and a large Frosty.
He's
Or
terrible.
Frosty.
Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like the Chargers do need a wide receiver 1. Even though McConkey is their wide receiver 1, I feel like he would most effectively fit the team in like a really good wide receiver 2 point.
I could definitely see
That's
it.
why I feel like they're going to trade for Tyreek Hill. I feel like they're probably like the destination for Tyreek Hill.
It wouldn't surprise me.
That would be a move I would see for them. in the offseason.
They have the cap space. You know, aside from a couple really heavy hitters on the defensive end, Derwin James, Joey Bosa, and Khalil Mack, and then of course Justin Herbert. It's not really like they're shelling out a ton of money to guys on offense. I mean, a lot of the guys that they have catching the ball right now are still on rookie contracts. So definitely going to be interesting to see where the Chargers go here. A game that I predicted would be an embarrassment for the Texans turns out to be
quite the opposite.
an embarrassment. Yeah, an embarrassment for the Chargers. And speaking of embarrassing, those cheeseheads, man.
Yeah, that was a pretty bad game from the Packers.
Just the Eagles. Let me get this off my chest first. I was not impressed with how the Eagles looked at all. I thought they played a very subpar football game. Every time I watched the Eagles, I just thought to myself, man, this is not going to fly against a real playoff football team. And I got love for the Packers. I got family that are Packers fans. But sometimes you need to throw the cold water on you. And it is that the Packers looked really bad. And no amount of talking about, the injuries that they accrued, like it was a team-wide failure, I would say.
Well, yeah, I mean, their injuries were crazy, but I think they would have kept it close if it weren't for the injuries. I mean, they lost Romeo Dobbs, Jaden Reed, and their left guard, Elton Jenkins, and their center, Josh Myers, in-game. So just that, I mean, and also the previous week, they lost Christian Watson to an ACL tear. So Jordan Love was throwing to his 4th, 5th, and 6th string receivers all game. And that's just pretty awful. I think they would have kept it close if it weren't for those injuries.
Yeah, and I get it. Injuries are tough. But honestly, after watching how well the Lions have managed to perform in the face of overwhelming injury, I am starting to see injuries piling up as less of an excuse than I used to. You know, the truth is, I just don't think this Packers team was cut from the same cloth as all the other top dog NFC teams. I don't think that they were necessarily frauds. I think they definitely earned their record, but you look at their record and they didn't have a great record against teams with a winning record. Let's just say that. And I understand they played in an incredibly difficult division, but getting swept by the Lions and the Vikings is never a good look. You don't want to be going 1-5 against the division. I mean, they had as many divisional wins this year as the Bears did.
Joe?
That's not indicative of a good football team to me. I'm sorry.
Did you see the Dallas Goedert touchdown in game?
Yeah, how he stiff-armed that poor
Carrington
man.
Valentine, that safety.
Yeah.
He might be like one of the worst defensive players I've ever seen in the game. I mean, Dallas Goedert stiff-armed him like 4 times on that touchdown play.
Being able to do that to a man who might have a family and whose children might be watching, it is just nasty work out of Dallas Goedert. I mean, win by any means necessary, but geez.
That was embarrassing. That guy got stiff-armed 4 times in a playoff game. In one play, he got stiff-armed four times.
They're going to change the code to the practice facility while that guy's out grabbing lunch or something.
Exactly.
It's sad. But wrapping back around to Philly, I am not sure I'm taking them against the Rams this week.
No, I don't think I am either.
The Rams played a really strong game. And we're going to talk in depth about the Rams and Philly, so I'm not going to get into any of the statistical matchups or anything like that. I need to say my piece, and I need Philadelphia fans to be really angry so that they come and listen to the next episode to understand my reasoning. Not that, they can really understand anything. But.
Something I want to point out about the Eagles game is that A.J. Brown was reading on the sideline.
Yeah.
Mid-game, and this is a game where he had 1 reception for 10 yards.
Straight cardio.
Straight cardio. I mean, he has different ways to affect the game by getting defensive players on him. But I think it's worthy to question the chemistry between him and Jalen Hurts.
Or lack thereof.
Yeah, lack thereof.
I don't think there's any chemistry between those two guys.
They really have not been clicking this season like they have in seasons prior.
A.J. Brown looks like he hates Jalen Hurts. Have you noticed that?
I have noticed that.
He looks like he hates Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
And I want to... I know I keep saying we're going to be talking about this in the next episode, so make sure you tune in for that. But Jalen Hurts frustrates me. very much so as a quarterback. And I'll explain my reasoning for that in another day. But basically the gist of it is he's too nonchalant for his own good. He's too nonchalant for his own good. He doesn't look like he cares about the game at all. And again, he had a terrible stat line this week. 131 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, they should be panicking right now.
Well, I don't think they should be panicking. I don't think Jalen Hurts' play is what they're worried about. I think he had a good game for what they were asking him to do.
Yeah, but I don't like the thought of asking less of your quarterback. I think in the playoffs you should be asking your quarterback to do the maximum. But I guess we're just gonna have to agree to disagree on that one. And if you disagree to disagree, then we're really gonna have some problems. Next up, we got Commanders and Buccaneers, the best game in the wild card, and a little talk about those guys out in purple. So stay tuned.
You know us for 50 years, Fishkill Wine and Liquor. We've been in the CVS Plaza, and we've been your trusted family-owned and operated store. Fishkill Wine and Liquor has the largest selection at the very best price in the Hudson Valley. When you stop by Fishkill Wine and Liquor, ask about our wine tastings and the sampling of other spirits. Don't waste your time at the other liquor stores that simply don't have it. Stop by Fishkill Wine and Liquor, 986 Main Street, Fishkill, conveniently located in the CVS Plaza. Oh, and make sure you tell somebody.
This is Derek Wanku, president of Walden Savings Bank, and we're looking for our next community champion. Whether it's an individual volunteer or an entire organization, Walden Savings Bank wants to recognize those doing great things in our community with $1,000. To nominate a community champion, just go to energy103fm.com, click on the WSB logo. They could be our next community champion. Walden Savings Bank, your bank, our community, waldensavings.bank.
Hi, I'm Mark Guido. For close to 60 years, the Guido family has been honored to serve our community and the wonderful people in it. Our mission has always been to serve the highest quality food and drink with the friendliest service at affordable prices. We promise to never depart from this goal, and at the same time, we are striving to meet your needs and changing tastes. My dad, Frank, and I, along with the entire staff, thank you for your patronage, your loyalty, and especially your friendship. The Port of Call in Catskill is closed for the season, and we will reopen in the spring. Of course, Frank Guido's Little Italy in Kingston, the most popular Italian restaurant in the area, is still open 7 days a week. Our mission has always been to serve the highest quality food and drink with the friendliest service at affordable prices. We promise to never depart from this goal, and at the same time, we are striving to meet your needs and changing tastes. As we enter the new year, we wish all of you peace, joy, and good health. Buon anno.
Your engine is a delicate instrument. But if you don't change the oil on a regular basis, things have a tendency to go wrong. That's why this news should be music to your ears. Because now at the Newburgh Auto Spa, you can get a free car wash with every oil change. That's right, a free car wash with every oil change.
Really?
Really. Stop into their state-of-the-art facility today and find out what quality maintenance is all about. We all need to get oil changes, so why not get a free car wash to go along with it? And while you're at it, take advantage of their 15-point vehicle inspection free of charge. That should leave you on a very happy note. Newburgh Auto Spa, located at 86 Route 17K in Newburgh. For more information, call 845-567-0009, 845-567-0009, or go online to newburghautospa.com. That's newburghautospa.com. Newburgh Auto Spa. Quick, convenient, clean.
Wow. That was some great commercials, don't you think? All right, next up, the Commanders take a commanding victory on a final play of the game field goal against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Jaden Daniels looked great, Matt. What did you see out of Jaden Daniels that you liked?
I don't really want to talk about Jaden Daniels. I don't think it's the most important thing to talk about. I think Todd Bowles, the head coach for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he has to go. This
Really?
is he's a defensive mind, and the defense has sucked all season, and it really cost him in this game. While the Baker fumble did effectively end the season, that's what led to them. But they had so many chances to get the Commanders off the field, and they just couldn't. I mean, Todd Bowles has had all season to figure out the middle of the field for the Buccaneers, and it's been awful all season. And it's not like they don't have good players. They have good players like Anton Winfield. They have Vita Vea.
Levante David.
Yeah, Levante David. They have good players, but it's not materializing the defense. And they need a coach that can really elevate their offense in the way that Todd Bowles can't. I mean, he's had winning records since he's been their coach.
And I mean, he's made the playoffs the last 5 seasons. Buffalo and Kansas City have been the only teams, in addition to Tampa, to make the playoffs.
He came into the head coach job after Bruce Arians left, which was the 2022 season.
Yeah, I know.
He has made the playoffs every single year, but he has one playoff win, and honestly, this is kind of an embarrassing loss. I think most people were taking the Buccaneers to win.
I wouldn't go that far to say it's an embarrassing loss. I mean, everybody knew this Washington team was young and hungry coming into this game. Jaden Daniels has just played out of his mind. So to call this loss embarrassing, I'm not sure I would go that far. And honestly, I don't know if I can really get behind this take at all about Todd Bowles. I understand that maybe he isn't using these defensive players to these offensive players to their maximum potential, but to say that he should be fired, I mean, it's not like a Tomlin situation where he's been, mediocre in the league for, 300 years or however long Tomlin's been the coach for the Steelers. Todd Bowles has only been around a couple of years, and you really think that they need to fire him?
I do. I just think he's made questionable decision after questionable decision, and when it comes down to it, with your season on the line, you can't make the stop to end the game, and that's what cost him their season, is that he couldn't make a stop.
Yeah, but I think the Baker fumble is huge, and in a playoff game, and in a playoff game, those are the kinds of plays that you can't really coach against, and they're just kind of that random aspect of football that can kind of throw everything off. There's a very human aspect to football that a coach or a really talented quarterback just can't cover up.
It's true. I mean, that was just a gaffe by Mayfield, who
terrible.
Is definitely mistake prone. It's also he deserves blame too. Even though he didn't throw an interception, that fumble was so costly for the game.
Yeah.
But it's just time. It's just time for Bowles to go. He needs to figure out the defense or go. I feel like I don't think he will be fired, but this should definitely be his last season if next season does not pan out to anything successful for the Buccaneers.
And what do you define as successful for the Buccaneers? As a playoff win?
Make it to the divisional round. I would say that's a success for this team because they're not winning the Super Bowl. I don't think Baker Mayfield is the type of quarterback that can take a team to 4 wins in a row in the playoffs.
Yeah, there's just too much uncertainty, with Baker Mayfield. And there's too much uncertainty in the playoffs, and there's too much uncertainty with Baker Mayfield. They don't mesh very well.
Yeah.
Baker's fun to watch in the regular season, but I do agree. I don't see him as being a guy that can play consistently well enough to take a team to 4 consecutive wins like that.
True.
But moving on from Todd Bowles, because, he's the coach of the team that lost. I want to talk about the team that won for a minute, real quick. The Commanders.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels is the future.
He's
the future. Great. Oh, he's the future. And I love what I saw out of him. The ability to hang tight in a close game and get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's so much fun to watch, too. Almost flashes of Lamar Jackson in his rushing ability. He's so elusive, but he's also a big body. He can put, he can't like truck guys or do these crazy stiff arms, but where you hit him is not always necessarily where you're going to stop him. I'll say that.
Yeah, and I like Jane Daniels, but I also really liked the decisions by Dan Quinn in this game, the head coach. He went for it on 4th down a lot, and it paid out. And I like when coaches do that, go for it on 4th down, and it paid out for them, and they wouldn't have won that game without Dan Quinn making those decisions.
Totally.
Something I find funny is now we have the Detroit playing Washington in the divisional. And 2 years ago, if you would have told me that Detroit would be the 1 seed and they would be playing Washington in the divisional, I would have looked at you like you're crazy.
Yeah, I would have laughed in your face and probably would have slapped you too for being crazy.
Yeah, I mean, good rebuilds there.
Yeah,
And
great rebuilds.
Both teams, I mean, not talking about the Lions, but the Commanders have a very bright future. I don't think they will beat the Lions. I think the Lions are just too good, but this is such an overachieving season for them, and they are looking great going ahead.
Totally. And speaking of bright futures, let's talk about somebody that doesn't have one. Sam Darnold. Wow. Wow. Jets Sam Darnold
bad.
came back in full force on Monday night.
Green. I could see him in green out there.
Yeah, I could see him. That's exactly it. I could see him in green and white. I saw the fear on his face. You know,
He looked awful.
The sunken-in eyes, the dilated pupils, the constant look of.
He looked awful.
Terror.
But the thing with Darnold is that a lot of teams are looking for a quarterback like Darnold to be their bridge guy, to be a guy that not take them to the playoffs, will take them to the playoffs, but not really go on a deep playoff run. So I think he will get paid. The Vikings might give him another 1-year deal and maybe bench him halfway through the year to start McCarthy. But
I don't think it's the move.
It might not be the move for the Vikings, but I think another team will end up paying him. You know,
I don't think so. I think this was a Linsanity run out of Sam Darnold. I don't think we're ever going to see him hit this peak again, and I think and I fear that the Vikings are going to put themselves in the situation that the Seattle Seahawks put themselves in not too long ago with Geno Smith, where you have an older quarterback who played for the Jets, has a lot of experience kind of floating around the league, comes in and performs really well and gets your team to the playoffs and looks like a great quarterback. Then you pay him, and then he's just kind of okay for the rest of his time. I mean, Geno Smith, as great as he was a couple seasons ago, definitely is not the same player that he is now. And I think this is a trap that a lot of teams fall into. And I think at this point, the Vikings just need to go ahead and let J.J. McCarthy do his thing. I understand letting your rookie sit, but if Darnold is not going to get it done, and Darnold is just going to be a regular season merchant, and he's never going to get this incredibly promising young core to a divisional round appearance after going 14-3, are you kidding me? He goes 14-3, he gets bounced in the first round of the playoffs. Like, who? And that loss was terrible. And like, if it's not Darnold, then who are we putting the blame on for that?
Yeah, but the thing is that Darnold, you say he's an older quarterback. He's really not that old. He's 27 years old, and this is his first playoff performance. He had a great regular season, and I think that regular season is what a lot of teams are looking for.
I just don't think it'll be smart for the Vikings to re-sign Darnold. I think it's going to be a trap. The J.J. McCarthy era can begin at any point in time. I mean, Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison are two wide receivers who can elevate their quarterbacks to that next level. And I think Sam Darnold was more a product of Jefferson and Addison and Kevin O'Connell than people realize. Is he talented? Absolutely. Is he that talented? Is he 14-3, the kind of season that Sam Darnold just had, talented? Absolutely not. I don't think so. I think if you stick J.J. McCarthy in this offense, I think that Vikings team hangs with the Rams. I think they even have a shot over the Rams. And, you know, I think it would be an interesting matchup for them against those Lions, just because of how tenacious both of those teams seem to be. I just have no faith in Darnold. I don't. Not anymore.
I have some faith. I think a team will pay him. I'm not going to say it's going to work out or not, but a team will pay him just based off the regular season that he had.
I'm certain a team is going to pay him, and I'm saying that is a mistake. Unequivocally a mistake.
The Rams looked great, though. I mean,
Rams
you can't take anything away from them. Even though Darnold played bad, they sacked him 9 times.
Yeah. Terrible. Terrible. I mean, getting sacked that many times, obviously the offensive line is mostly to blame. But at the same time,
you got to throw the ball away.
You got to throw the ball. Yeah. Throw the ball, run, do something. You can't just stand there.
He was holding the ball way too long. Yeah. He looked scared in that pocket.
He thought he was Brady. He thought he could just stand there and take a nap in the pocket like Brady was so good at doing. I was watching a documentary the other day about Tom Brady's throwing motion and like quarterback throwing motions in general.
Yeah.
Watching Tom Brady just stand straight up in the pocket, not a fear in the world. It's crazy, man. Darnold is not him. Obviously.
Who knows? Yeah.
But it's just going to be another mistake for the Vikings. The Vikings have such a promising young team. Their defense is iffy in some places, but also really good in some other places. And I would just hate to see a young, talented core go to waste because teams are afraid to take that next step. And like, we'll go back to the Steelers and Tomlin. They're okay with that comfortable mediocrity of we're making the playoffs every year. We're getting bounced in the first round. But hey, at least the fans aren't, calling for the general manager's head or calling for the owner to sell the team.
Very true.
Or anything like that. I'm just not big on it. And I think that the Vikings need to just do the right thing and start McCarthy.
Yeah, I mean, McCarthy, the thing is that McCarthy is coming back from a second knee surgery, so it depends on really what his physical ability is whether they will pay him or not. I think that's what it'll come down to.
Yeah, I suppose at that point you need to, take McCarthy's health into account.
Yeah.
The 1 seed. What does it mean for a team? Is it a blessing or is it a curse? I know I just went off topic, but I'm telling you what we're talking about next on Jake's Hot Takes. We will be right back after this brief commercial break.
Need tires? When you think tires, think Tire Discount Center. For over 50 years in 3 locations, all the brands, all the sizes. Want to accessorize your ride? Tire Discount Center. Need auto repair? Tire Discount Center. When you think tires, accessories, remote starters, heated seats, or auto repair and service, think Tire Discount Center and save time, money, and hassles. Dolson Avenue, Middletown, Route 211, Middletown, Broadway, and Monticello, and online at TireDiscountCenter.com. Tire Discount Center.
Thinking about remodeling your kitchen or bath? Wayne's Way Wholesale Cabinets has a great selection of all wood cabinets in the styles and colors to make your remodeling dreams come to life. Go to WaynesWayCabinets.com for more info. Wayne's Way Cabinets, 1829 South Road, Wappingers Falls. Call 845-280-0880. Stop by and talk to Wayne today. You'll be glad you did.
Need a new oven? Then the place to go is Michael's Appliance Center. They are committed to providing excellent value and service. Whether you need a stove, washer and dryer, or refrigerator, they offer a multitude of products in every price range. Customers at Michael's Appliance Center receive exceptional guidance and support from their highly trained, knowledgeable sales staff. Shop for appliances ranging from dishwashers to outdoor grills. Visit Michael's Appliance Center, 585 Main Street in Middletown, or go online to michaelsappliance.com.
Welcome to a new shopping experience at Market Fresh. Market Fresh stocks more items for you to choose from, including fresh produce from local farms, and they give you more savings each week in every aisle.
Whole pork spare ribs, $1.99 a pound. Tropical mangoes, 4 for $5. Scott bath tissue, 20 roll pack, $17.99 with club card.
Discover a new shopping experience at Market Fresh, Route 17K Newburgh, Fulton Street, Middletown, and Main Street, Poughkeepsie. Open 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday to Saturday, and 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday.
Your life relies on power, all day, every day. With winter upon us, winter-related storms and power outages disrupt your home life, work life, and more. Don't be left in the dark. Call Essential Power Systems, your local Generac automatic standby power dealer, protecting your family, home, and business. Already have a Generac? Ask about maintenance, monitors, and cold weather kits. Call Mike the Generator Guy for a free estimate, 845-227-0514. Online at EssentialPowerGenerators.com. Never be powerless. Get Generac by Essential Power Systems.
CDS Auto and Truck Repair is your 5-star one-stop shop for all your vehicle's needs from A to Z, offering full vehicle diagnostics. Towing is available, and they now offer fleet service. CDS Auto and Truck Repair. Call 845-563-9987. That's 845-563-9987. CDS Auto and Truck Repair, 2917 Route 9W, New Windsor.
Wow, those were some great commercials again. Whoops. Those were some great commercials again. Don't you think, Matt? Say yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right. So now that the divisional round has come around, The sleeping beasts have been awoken for their first playoff game of the season. The Kansas City Chiefs take on the Houston Texans. The Detroit Lions are taking on the Washington Commanders. This is when playoff football gets real. The big dogs are out of the cages. They're out to play.
Yes.
Kansas City and Detroit looking like two of the most unstoppable forces in all of football right now. I think their level of play was severely missed during the wild card round. But, the scrubs are out. These are pretty much the 8 best teams in the NFL right now, which no matter way you cut it, because if any team was better, they'd be there in that divisional round instead of them.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of contention around the 1 seed. Teams are always vying for it, but my question that I want to ask is the 1 seed, can it do more harm than good? Just off the dome.
I do not think so. I mean, like last year, both 1 seeds made it to the Super Bowl. The year before that, Kansas City and Philadelphia, they both made the Super Bowl. So I think it's definitely an advantage. But then you go back to something like the 2021 season when the Titans and the Packers both got bounced in the second round of the playoffs. Yeah. So it could lead to a little bit of rust. It's definitely a thing that could happen. But no matter what, you look at like the Chiefs, they had like a full month off basically.
Yeah. I mean, Mahomes hasn't seen the field since early January, I do believe.
Yeah.
Was the last time we actually saw Mahomes play. The 1 seed is always so concerning to me because it, like you said with the Packers and the Titans back in 2021, I mean, that Titans team got beat by the Cincinnati Bengals, and I think part of it was just because their starters hadn't seen the field in so long. I think rust is something really important that teams should be considering, which, take a team like Kansas City this year. I mean, like we just established, their starters haven't played in over a month, and sometimes that it puts you out of the mindset. It puts you out of the mentality that you need to have. So I can't say that I always feel comfortable with a team having the first overall seed in their respective conference. I don't always feel comfortable picking them to go all the way just because they get that 1 week off. I think that there's just too many factors to football in order to make that happen. I mean, I will say though, one of the big depending factors for whether or not the 1 seed is beneficial or negative is the team culture as a whole. We took a team like the Titans back in 2021. Their team culture was not winning. Mm-hmm. It was winning in the regular season, but that team had no experience actually having meaningful games late in the season, or at least that core. The Titans have made it to the divisional round before. They've made it to, I think, a championship game a couple years ago, but not with the same core that they had in 2021. And you take a team like the Patriots, the Tom Brady Patriots, the evil empire, and in their 20 years of dominance, every time they got the 1 seed in the AFC, they made it to the Super Bowl. They didn't always win, except for 1 year in 2010, they got the 1 seed, and then they got bounced in the divisional round. But almost every time that team got the 1 seed, they made it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And I think, like, last year, I said Kansas City was the 1 seed. It wasn't. It was Baltimore. Baltimore was the 1 seed, and they did not make it. Kansas City was the 2 seed, I believe. But I don't think it really Russ does, but it definitely – that's where it comes into coaching. Coaching is really where if a team can stay motivated throughout the bye week, that is really the biggest advantage of having a good coach that keeps the players motivated, that keeps the players on the same track. And I think that both Kansas City and Detroit have that coaching, so I don't think it's really much to worry about.
Yeah, I worry more for Detroit getting the 1 seed than I do for Kansas City. I mean, Kansas City's been in this situation before. There's pretty much no situation that you can put them in where they seem phased at this point. Mm-hmm. But this is a big deal for Detroit. It's their first time winning not just the conference, but their division in a very, very long time.
Yeah, they won it last year, but
their first time being dominant. I'll say being dominant in their division. They won the North last year. And before last year, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had won the NFC North more recently than the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
Look that up. That is a completely accurate fact. So it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, they went from being one in their division to one in their conference. and now they're going up against these young, scrappy underdogs. Detroit kind of has almost started to become their own empire of really good winning football. You know, they made it to a conference championship last season. Then they go and they win what might have been the hardest division we've seen in the NFL in a very long time. 3 teams over 10 wins and the Chicago Bears. And just being in that situation, having that kind of pressure applied to you, I wonder if it's almost going to – I wonder if Detroit is going to end up overcompensating, trying to do too much in a way, and how that might impact their team. I mean, these Detroit players, lifelong Detroit players, have not had a first-round bye in their entire careers.
Yeah.
So I am curious to see how the core of that Lions team is going to respond to being in this kind of situation.
Well, the Lions and the Chiefs both have really big home field advantage. I mean, those
Definitely.
fans care a lot.
Yeah, they do.
So, but the thing is that the biggest question for the Lions is they are facing an offense with a mobile quarterback, and I don't really think they faced that this year, off the top of my head, or at least a mobile quarterback in the same way that Jaden Daniels is. So they have to prepare for that in this bye. They have to prepare for all the receivers they have. So it'll be a good game between Washington and Detroit. And what do you think that the Chiefs are preparing for the Texans?
I think the Texans' pass rush is going to be the factor that makes or breaks this game for Kansas City. I think that the Texans' front line absolutely manhandled one of the most physically dominant offensive lines in the NFL last week in the form of the Chargers. And the Chiefs do not have that kind of muscle like Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt on their offensive line. I mean, they're rocking with Jawan Taylor and DJ Humphries as their starters at tackle. Jawan Taylor is Jawan Taylor. I mean, last season he was the most penalized player in the entire NFL. Sometimes he feels like he does more harm than good. A lot of times he feels like he does more harm than good. But, you know, he is a perfectly adequate tackle when it comes to actually blocking. DJ Humphries, I have a lot of concerns about. He has not had a lot of time to work with this group. He was a mid-season free agency acquisition, and he has only played 2 games with the team up until this point. His debut game, I believe, against the Raiders, and then that meaningless Week 18 game against the Broncos. So these are 2 guys who can get bullied by this Texans front 4. And as good as the interior offensive line is, 2 Pro Bowlers in Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith, Joe Tooney, always good. Love having him on the offensive line, especially since he can actually play tackle if the situation calls for it. I just worry that Texans defensive pass rush is going to really get after Mahomes. And Mahomes has been gotten after before like that, like on that level, like almost every play feeling the pressure. And usually he can compensate for it and make the right plays. And as Mahomes' time to throw this season is faster now than it has been throughout his entire career. So pass rushing is quickly becoming a less effective way to get at Mahomes and stop him, because at this point I think Reed is planning for the offensive line to get beat, at least on the edges. But that is the big concern for me as a Chiefs fan going into this Houston and Kansas City game. Now, let me reflect this question back to you. What do you think the Lions' biggest concern should be against the Rams?
Against the Commanders, definitely.
The Commanders,
definitely Jaden Daniels' legs. I mean, the Commanders are just one of those teams that offensively they have a lot of ways to beat you. I mean, Brian Robinson is a great running back.
Terry McLaurin.
Terry McLaurin, he's a great receiver, and the connection between him and Jaden Daniels is really good. And it's really surprising because I wasn't too high on Terry coming into the season, and he's really surprised me, really changed my mind about him. But I think Jaden Daniels' legs is definitely the biggest concern for Detroit because I don't really think they have the interior on the defense to really handle that. So I think their offense is really going to have to show up against this Commanders defense, which is all right. The Commanders defense is okay, not great, but we'll see.
We certainly will. We're going to talk about these games a little more in depth on our Thursday show. Make sure you're right here, WGNY 1220 94.5 at noon on Thursday for the next episode of Jake's Hot Takes. That is going to do it for today. I hope you all enjoyed this special Tuesday edition of Jake's Hot Takes. Again, we apologize for the reschedule. If you want to hear your takes on the radio, send it to jakeshottakes@wgny.net. Thank you all for listening, and we love you all, and everybody have a wonderful day and enjoy the football.
WGNY and WJGK HD2, Newburgh, Middletown. WGNY News, Talk, Sports.